This is the President McCormack Podcast with your host, Mark McCormack.
On the podcast today, it's Brayden Bellnap. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mark. So good to be here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. So you are a transformational life coach.
Yep.
Tell me what that is.
To me, a transformation life coach is when somebody's willing to have a conversation with somebody and really take them from place A to place B or place A to place C. But it's a long-term commitment, right? Transformation isn't a quick thing. That's where people think, oh, I can transform my life right now. And yeah, sometimes you have that motivation, that hurrah moment where it's like, wow, my life's changed. You know, you go to event or whatever. But transformation is a long-term commitment.
Yeah.
It's the willingness to wake up every day and proceed forward with the transformation, whether that's your businesses, your lifestyle, your mindset, to say the least.
Oh, cool. So how'd you find yourself doing that?
So, do you want the long story short? Or?
No, I want the long story long.
So it honestly started when I was really young.
Yeah. When
I was young, I was naturally just that kid that would laugh and have a fun time. I would walk in, point at the wall, and just start laughing. Subconsciously, I knew I could walk into the room and light the room up and, maybe change somebody's day or two. But when I was born, I was growing up in a family that in my child eyes, I thought was perfect. So I never saw my parents fighting. I grew up, never had to worry about food. My house had a basketball court in the back of it. My playroom was practically like 33% as big as the house that I have now. Right. Anyways, one day I was playing video games. My brother and sister were upstairs just having a good time, and my parents called us down. And my mom's like, hey, me and your dad are getting a divorce. And obviously they're crying. And at the time I thought I knew what that was. I wasn't quite sure, but my sister's like, what's that? And me and dad are separating. Anyways, that was super devastating. So that created three main limiting beliefs for me. One, love's not real. Thanks to my wife. She helped me get over that.
Yeah.
Two, you never know what's real or what's fake. Because in my eyes and in my child perspective, there was nothing wrong with my family.
Yeah.
And I can only rely on myself. Because if they're not going to be honest with me and I'm not going to see the truth, then I can only know it's true for me. So anyways, at the age of 13, I started smoking weed, drinking cigarettes, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, really, you name it, at such a young age. And at about 14, 15, I started to see where I was perceived. I had a lot of friends commit suicide. Some of them got locked up in prison or juvie. And I started to see more for myself. It's like, who is Brayden Bellnap? Like, I want Brayden Bellnap to mean this. But I didn't feel safe going to anyone. Obviously, I wasn't doing great things. So anyways, around 15, I was downstairs hanging out with my friends, and a voice in the back of my head said, go to the bathroom. Didn't have to go to the bathroom, but I walked in and a light came over me immediately, and I saw an angel. And the angel said, either you will die before you graduate high school or you will transform and make a big impact. So that was like my moment that I was like, wow, I actually can become more. Like, it sounds scary to people, but I found a lot of peace in that moment.
Sure.
Obviously, I walked out and all my problems came back to me. They didn't go away. But each day I was thinking about death, and the emotions were almost heavier at that point because I knew I wanted to become more, but I wasn't. I was still acting in the way in accordance of my past self. So last day of 9th grade, I walk in the school and the immediate thought is, this is the last day for you to change. So end of day, I say, hey, see y'all tomorrow. Because I hung out with my friends every day, just like any kid, right?
Yeah.
Said, hey, see you guys tomorrow. And that night I went home. I blocked every friend. I deleted every social media. And that's the first day I picked up a book and transformed my life.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
So where do you think that came from, that angel? That came from inside you, or do you think it was more divine?
So honestly, I had a feeling a while back. I'm not too close to my dad's family.
Mhm.
We're pretty distant, to say the least. I love them, but they're just distant. I went and visited my aunt that passed away when I was a baby, and I had the voice. That was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. What was the first book you picked up? Do you remember?
I don't remember exactly. I can tell you that there's been so many of them. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I
Are you an
wish
avid
I
reader
did.
now?
I am a reader. Yeah, I read. I shoot to read for 30 minutes each day. Some days I read an hour. Some days I read none. But
Yeah.
I read about 30 minutes each day.
Okay, cool. It's kind of part of like your morning routine.
Morning and afternoon. I try to break it up in 2 different sections, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night. I don't know. Sometimes I enjoy sitting down reading, but honestly, it's still somewhat of a chore to me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm actually at the point in my life where I'm like sick of reading books. So
Yeah.
I have a weird philosophy on it. I feel like, we're in this room right here with all these books, right?
Yeah.
Most of them are self-help books. And not that self-help books aren't good for people, but I just feel like they steal all their ideas from philosophy. So I'd much rather read a philosophy book.
Yeah,
And, all the way back to the Stoics, all the way to like, modern day guys like Carl Jung, right? And the reason why I like those so much is I feel like the philosophy books actually force you to look inward. And I really believe that every answer that you need is actually inside you, because you're the one that, understands your world, and it's your perspective, and it's, you decide how you want to show up in this world and how you want to interact with people. And so gaining inspiration through philosophy, I think, is a really good way for people to just kind of like understand the world around them. And I also kind of think that books are just made for people to make money off of.
I agree with that, because honestly, even me, I'm a lot of coaches out there are like, I'm the best. Like, obviously we love Tony Robbins or Ed Milet and all them.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's like they had to acquire all their knowledge from other people.
Yeah.
They didn't come into this world having all this knowledge.
No, not at all.
They had to develop it and create their own methodologies, sure. But ultimately,
Yeah.
even me, it was me learning from other people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's a good way to go too, right? I mean, you got to learn from the people, and then you kind of like come up with your own ideas, right?
Exactly.
So in your program, how does your program work when you become a coach? Is it like a time period, or do people hire you kind of for indefinite times, or how does that work?
So my biggest program is my group coaching, Prosperous Life membership. I coach on a weekly basis. Obviously, you'll have access to me each week, and the community. And I would say that the community is almost the best part, not to limit my abilities in helping transform, but when you have people around you wanting to naturally become more, you naturally rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Right. And when you have a group of people striving to become more and achieve more, naturally you're going to do the same.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you guys do like a weekly call?
Weekly calls on Monday.
Oh, nice.
And to me, there's 7 steps to live a prosperous life. That's awareness, identity, your spirit, mind, body, relationships with other people. Wow, I just went blank. Awareness, identity, your spirit, mind, body, your vision, your purpose, your action, and your impact.
Nice. So what's when you bring someone on, do they just come right into the program and just pick up each week, or do they have modules that they roll through?
So when you come into the program, you're going to get a course up front. It's essentially those 7 steps in mini, so you can essentially set a foundation for yourself in life.
Okay, cool.
From there, you jump into the program. All of the past coaching sessions are recorded, so you have access to them.
Right.
But ultimately, they just jump right in. And I do one-on-one coachings, and that's where I would jump in depth with one person. And that's what I'm certainly willing to do that.
Yeah.
Although, again, even if you come into my one-on-one, I'm going to invite you to my group, because I think the power of your community is a huge aspect to growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Those people make friends in there too, right?
Yeah.
And start relying on each other, not just like one kind of leader, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
So how did you pick the content for each section?
Each section of my group?
Mm-hmm.
So it depends. I have an idea of each, what I would like to talk about each week, but I'm also, if my group is struggling with an aspect and I see a trend, naturally I'm going to go to what the group needs.
Yeah.
So I'll ask, hey, mastermind time, what are you guys struggling with? And if I see 3 things, then I'm like, okay, I certainly need to fit that in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. What are guys struggling with? Is it guys? Is it girls? Is it both?
Both.
A little bit of both. What do most people struggle with these days?
2 things that I've recognized in my group recently. People feel like they need motivation to show up. Motivation is like an emotion. It comes and it goes. You just need determination. You need a schedule. You need to show up whether you feel like it or not. I know that's a simple answer, but if you just started to schedule your habits and you followed a schedule, even if you felt like it and you followed your schedule, you're going to achieve your goals, right?
Yeah.
And the other is confidence. Well, people think confidence is like a huge thing. Well, confidence comes through winning the days, winning the moments. Each day, at the end of the day, you'll feel really good about your day if you won all of the small things in your day, right? Mm-hmm. And confidence can be pretty much built within a week as long as you commit to doing everything you committed that week. Yeah. And if you carry that forward, you're going to have confidence.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think confidence is an interesting thing, right? There's a lot of people that I almost feel like they feel that they have a lack of confidence because they see other people who are confident and they feel like they're not equal. It's like a comparison thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Gonna feel like that's going on, Sam?
Most definitely.
Yeah, we have that. So in my men's group, right? We're in the we or the they group, and it's interesting because there's guys, man, that like, we actually have a what we call a ludus mastermind next weekend, and there's guys that have to like gear up to come to that because they don't, they have imposter syndrome or they feel like they don't belong. They like have a low confidence level. There's always something that they're kind of struggling with. I think it gets kicked out of them within the first couple of hours, which is kind of cool, and then we all kind of become cohesive. But when you hear that stuff, like what's your main thoughts? Why do you think people have imposter syndrome all the time?
I think imposter syndrome comes from growth, truthfully. I have imposter syndrome sometimes, but it's a matter of still willing to show up, right? There's, to me, 2 versions. There's a paralyzing imposter syndrome where you're going to think, oh, I don't deserve to be there. And then you don't go and you don't grow your life.
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, there's, man, I know this is really going to grow me, and I feel like there's a lot of people in that room that's better than me. But I also know that there's a lot of people in that room that I can help.
Yeah.
So I deserve to be there. And even though you don't necessarily feel like you're the best person in the room, by going, you're going to grow. And at some point, you're not going to have imposter syndrome in that room anymore. So you're going to need to find another room to grow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's almost a choice, right? Like you have to choose to participate, you have to choose to show up, you have to choose to, go to the events, right? And then choose to participate once you're there. I think the more choices you make, the less imposter syndrome you probably have.
Most definitely.
You agree, yeah?
And it comes to that confidence, right? If you're actively showing up and doing what you say that you're going to do, you're going to have less imposter syndrome, because when you do show up to a meeting with amazing men or whatever the case is, you're not lying to everybody.
Yeah. 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 Very true. It's funny, man. I've actually kind of 1-on-1 or maybe 1-on-4, right? When we get these little groups of these things, I bust their ass over it all the time, right? Because it's like, dudes, you paid your money, you drove up here or flew here. It depends where we're at, right? And it's like, you're here, man. You're in. Like, there's no need to feel like an imposter. You're part of the group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but I'm kind of more of a grab you, hug you, and slam you down the wall. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like to I'm not a coach or anything, but like when I kind of grab my guys, it's just like, hey, dudes, come on, let's do it all together. Kind of, let's all march together, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it comes down to that community, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The old quote: if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, to go together.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great quote.
I agree.
So with your coaching, like you probably started thinking about it and conceptualizing what you want to do for coaching. What made you go, I'm going all in on this?
Sounds so cheesy, but seriously, it genuinely feels like a calling. Like I naturally, when I sit down with somebody, I naturally feel gifted to be able to take them from A to Z. I can naturally see their potential. Okay, I see that you see yourself here, but this is your potential and we're going to get you there. Might take a couple of sessions. It might take a couple of times sitting down. Might take you eliminating some friends and get you into the right friends.
Yeah.
But I have the natural ability to see people's problems that they are unable to see on their own. And my power is that I'm willing to call it out. And if you don't want to be called out, then we're probably not the right fit, because that means you're not ready to change, right? But I'm so confident that I have a gift that I can actually take somebody from A to Z. So I feel like it would be a disservice to the world to not live within that gift.
Yeah. Where do you think that confidence comes from?
Time. I don't always have it.
Yeah.
But after coaching for 2 years and having so many people that have had these results, it just naturally has come to me.
Yeah. Are your what would you call them, clients, or what would you call them? Your tribe?
Clients, tribe.
Do you where do the most of them live?
I have some people in Hawaii. I have some people in Idaho. They're everywhere.
Are they all over?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So how did you market your group?
Instagram mainly.
Just Instagram?
I mean, I use TikTok, YouTube, things of that nature, but most of my community comes from Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So before you were coaching, did you have another career you were in?
So I was mainly in marketing.
Yeah.
So when I was 16, and it's the first time I got into sales door to door for solar. Wanted to be my own boss. So I got involved with network marketing, and it still didn't feel like my own. So I started my own marketing agency.
Oh, cool.
And then I sold that at 17. And that's where when I sold the marketing agency, that's when I knew I wanted to be a coach, and that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Oh, nice.
Of course, I'm open to other things, investing in real estate, overall investing, or starting other businesses, but this is going to be my main vehicle forward.
And it's really because you have a calling to it, right? You feel like so it must feel pretty nice, right? Do coaching if you feel called to it and you're being successful at it.
Yeah, it refills me every day, right? I don't go to work and then feel drained. I go to work and feel empowered to do more the next day.
Yeah. So how do you pick each subject each week? Is it mostly from the feedback, or are you kind of thinking this is a group that needs something? Let's pick this topic.
Yeah, I would say feedback just by asking questions. Maybe I go into a coaching call, and I love a lot of the coaching groups nowadays, but a lot of them speech, create motivation, and then people are kind of left hung and dry to go do it. I will, give my speech. I'll teach for the first 30, 45 minutes, but the rest of the half of the coaching session, I'm going deep with the individuals. So naturally, I'm able to see what they're struggling with. And if I don't feel like that was achieved on that call, I can begin to implement that into future calls.
Oh, cool. Nice. So do you give them tasks to do, or?
Mm-hmm. But it's all personalized.
Oh, is it all personalized?
Yeah.
What's some common ones?
One recently has been cold showers.
Okay.
That will work on your spirit, mind, and body all together at one time. And the best step is obviously cold plunges, but not everybody has access to that.
Yeah.
Some recently last week, I noticed that a lot of people were struggling having fun by themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're listening to this, when was the last time you just went and got coffee by yourself, or went out to dinner by yourself, or went to the movies by yourself, or even just went on a hike by yourself? A lot of people struggle having fun. So the challenge this week was actually pretty universal. It was just go have fun by yourself, even if it's just for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because if you can enjoy your own time, then your time becomes more valuable, which means you don't have to fill it with people that don't deserve it.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you see a lot of people kind of leave friendships behind, right? As they kind of start growing and moving down the path to their higher self, really, right?
Most definitely.
Why do you think that is?
If anybody's like me, I always love people, even from my past. But to me, from my past, I've always given opportunities to people to grow with me. But I'm a person that, without a shadow of a doubt, if you're not willing to grow with me, then I'm fine leaving you in the dust. And that's really what I, show to the people, teach, coach around is, okay, you can love your mom and that's just fine. You can love your siblings. You can love your friends. Are they willing to grow with you? Because if they're willing to grow with you, then you don't need to leave them behind. But if they're not, do you want to minimize your life to be with somebody else? So I think I think a lot of people preach, hey, cut off all your friends, burn the boats. And not that that's not a right solution. Sometimes that is the right solution, especially if they're toxic people. Mm-hmm. But if it's just an average person, maybe they have some flukes, then hey, invite them along the journey of growth. And if they don't want to grow, then that's just your sign that it's time to live. Let them be.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you, for people listening, how would you define a toxic person?
Ooh, there's so many traits to toxic people. I think so. I think if I was to define a toxic person in a very simple way, it's somebody that minimizes somebody else's potential. So maybe that's they're manipulative through words. Maybe that's obviously physical beating somebody. Maybe that's telling somebody that they simply can't do something that they want to do.
Yeah.
I think just minimizing somebody else's potential, whether that's through your thoughts, words, or behaviors, you would be considered a toxic person.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes knowing and unknowingly they do it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's one of the problems that people have is they look at people and their good intentions, right? Or at least they say they have good intentions. But that person ends up being really toxic because they really do hold you back. And then, if you're comfortable and someone's holding you back, you're going to get held back, right? There's not always that separation. I mean, I think most people really aren't really striving to get better. I think they're kind of like always striving to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And so they end up surrounding themselves with a bunch of toxic people.
I would agree with that. And then they get validated that it's okay to stay small, and then they feel okay about themselves when in reality they're struggling on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I kind of feel like our society's waking up a little bit though. To like mental health. Would you feel the same?
In some bad ways and in some good ways.
Okay. Go on.
People that are like, and again, for instance, I deserve to be me, and now we need to incorporate sexuality in schools and all this. Like there's awakening and then there's negative awakening.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think the most positive ways that people are waking up are?
Being willing to be themselves, being willing to speak and say, you know what? Like, for instance, a hard thing for me and my family, to be successful, you go to college. Mm-hmm. For you to be enough, you do X, Y, Z. Growing up, I was like, I'm not going to college. I want to start businesses. I want to be sales. And people around me were like, well, you'll fail. And I think if people now are just willing to say, you know what, this is what I want. And so since a lot of their friends are also being willing to share, this is who I want to be, this is what I want to do, and that's more common, kids are doing what they want to do now instead of just following in their parents' footsteps.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's interesting because the numbers don't really show it because college admission still is going up, right?
Yeah.
But I really think people are starting to look at college in a totally different way.
I agree.
And I'm a college graduate, I have a 4-year degree. I actually got into law school.
That's cool.
Decided not to go and kind of do a little more entrepreneurial stuff, right?
Did you ever practice law or?
No. I have a paralegal studies degree. So I basically did pre-law for my undergraduate, right?
Okay.
Then I got into law school, and then my dad asked me about a month or two before I was going to actually move to Texas. I was going to go to Texas Tech. If I wanted to help run the family business, and we made some concessions back and forth to let me kind of invest and try other things along the way. And that's kind of how I ended up to where I am today.
Can I ask what that family business was?
Yeah. It's called ADP Lemco. It's an athletic equipment company.
Okay. Still up and running today, I assume.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Running strong.
That's amazing.
So we're actually right now we're going through, we're trying to go through a roll up in our industry. So we're going to go out there and buy some competitors up and start kind of building the business through acquisition more than just growing it naturally.
That's cool.
So it's really, it's actually a lot of fun.
Sometimes that's the best way too, right?
Yeah.
Buy up the percentages of the competitors.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You take those synergies and slam them into your business. And if you look at it on a multiple strategy, right, kind of on the private equity side, the bigger your revenue is, the more of a multiple you get on your valuation. So whether you make more money or not, so, if you have 10 companies that all make $1 million, right? And they do $1 million in revenue and they make, $250,000 each. If you just roll them all up into one big company, instead of getting a 4X, you might get a 7X. So just by combining them all into one, you can actually sell them for more money. And so there's a little bit of a strategy with that out there that we're kind of working on right now. But
do you think at some point you guys will sell, or is that not in the talks?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, you got to sell. The thing with business is you have to sell them all at one point, right? Now, not all businesses can be sold. Don't get me wrong, right? It's really hard to run not that I'm talking crap on anything, but if you have a one Thai restaurant, right? And then a family owns that restaurant, it's extremely hard to sell that restaurant after 40 years, right?
For sure.
Well, you can sell it, but it won't be for anything meaningful, right? You're not going to get a massive multiple. It's not going to go into a conglomerate. No one's strategically buying up little restaurants and stuff like that. But if you start something like Chipotle, right? Or Crumble Cookie or, something like that, where they can grow the franchisee model, then that turns into a scalable business.
Yeah, sure.
And so the stuff I like to invest in, and I like to get into businesses that are scalable, because then you can basically grow them to a certain level and then sell them off. And then you do it again and again and again and again. I'm actually not really a real estate guy. Funny enough, there's a lot of people I know that love to invest in real estate. And to me, real estate's a very long, slow, predictable return. It's kind of boring. It's kind of like buying a bond. People make it interesting because they buy too high and they get in deep shit and that kind of stuff with their investments, right? That gets exciting. But when you're really a real estate investor, right, and you know what you're doing, it's, you're looking at a 6 to 9 cap every year, and you're just hoping the appreciation rolls, over 20 years, 20, 30 years. And it's definitely not a bad way to invest. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather get into a business where I can, quadruple the revenue in a couple of years, and then, try and sell the business off to something else or acquire, and then keep on growing and growing and growing it. And in 10 years, you could 10, 15x your money instead of make, 90% return, something like that, if you have a 9 cap.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, real estate's great, but millionaires are built from real estate. Billionaires are built from business.
That's probably true. Yeah. That's probably true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't know if there's one billionaire that did inherit some real estate, right? It'd be really hard to do that. You'd have to really be aggressive and take out some loans and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah. Not that you always take out loans on real estate, and that's how you make it work. But
and leverage to be able to buy more, whatever the case is.
Yeah. So, and it's funny, man, because I have a private equity firm, right? And so people always ask me, would you guys do real estate deals? And I'm like, no. And it blows people's minds, right? Because they're like, well, everyone does real estate at some level. And it's like, yeah, I own some real estate, but it's kind of like secure money. I get mailbox money every single month kind of thing. But if I really want to get excited and get involved in a company and have some passion in it and stuff like that, I'd much rather be in a business and try and affect it.
Buying real estate is fun, and it's, it's like, oh, cool, I bought some real estate today, but it's not like creating a strategy to drive the sales.
Right. So in stocks, right, you can do a bunch of research in stocks and find one you think is undervalued. And I'm a huge stock guy. I love stocks. But the fun part would be if you own the company, say you own Facebook, right? And you're like, hey, actually sitting in the boardroom and going, okay, what's the next segment we're going to go into? Is it AI? Is it going to be more social media? We're going to take over, a YouTube channel kind of thing, or recreate YouTube or something like that, like they have, or even a search engine. You can build a search engine inside Facebook. Those kind of things would be fun, passionate wise, right? Really figuring out the sales strategy, how you're going to move the company, where you're going to allocate assets, all that kind of stuff. But that's really something that kind of makes me excited.
Yeah, sure. Has a lot more in-depth conversation.
Yeah.
And you're doing it with other people too, other smart people that are wanting the same goal. Yeah, hopefully. If not, then you're probably in the wrong business, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which is wild, man. There's a lot of people in the wrong business.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a little insight into me. But so you've also written a book, right? Just one book?
One book.
Okay.
Journey to Prosper. This is actually the first time I'm saying it online. I'm currently in the works to rewriting it.
Oh, okay. Why are you rewriting it?
Not that it wasn't good the first time, but to me, I don't want to just work with somebody that book, if you've never done interpersonal development, I'm almost confident that that's the book for you.
Yeah.
Practically 100% confident, because it will really create a foundation for you to build upon. But I also want to work with the people that have been in personal development for 5 years or longer, like myself, that know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I want to take those people's lives to the next level as well. So I would really like to reach everybody.
Oh, cool. Yeah. How come you chose to rewrite it instead of just do volume 2 or another book?
Because in the book, I hit upon those 7 steps that I believe it takes to live a prosperous life. And it's my goal to be able to create that for anybody. And so that's why I'm recreating it. Alex Heramosi is, I believe, he's rewritten he's the reason I'm rewriting my book. He says he's rewritten his first book so many times to perfect it, to serve the most people. And so that's where I was like, I knew I wanted to serve at a higher scale with the people that have been involved in personal development for such a long time. That's why I said that's the step I need to take.
Oh, cool. Yeah, how'd you come across Alex?
Just social media at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's probably my favorite influencer.
Okay.
For sure. And he works out of my friend's gym.
Oh, really?
It was really funny. My friend runs a gym down in Las Vegas. And I was down there hanging out with him and seeing him. And I went into the gym and Alex was working out. And I was just like, oh shit, it's that freaking guy that I see on, I watch him a lot on TikTok and Instagram, but mostly TikTok. And I bought his book and I've seen a bunch of his YouTube videos. I kind of, when I'm at work, I always am playing a YouTube video in the background.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes I have to go back and re-listen to him, right? Cause you get busy focusing on something.
Sure.
But yeah. So anyway, so he was working out at the gym and I was there with my wife and I was like, dude, that's that freaking guy. And she's like, go talk to him. Cause I like talk to everybody. Right. And I'm like, nah, I'm not ready to talk to him yet, And so, but we ended up working out like right next to each other. And, I didn't say anything to him, but
that's amazing.
Eventually
Good experience
one day.
though, right?
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, the gym that he's at, it's a little bit different than like a normal gym, right? It's a pretty hardcore. It's called the Dragon's Lair, and it's for like hardcore bodybuilders and stuff. So it's not one where you like walk up to people and be like, "Yo, bro, what's up?" Like it's people are like working out hard when they're in there.
And I feel like it is a respect thing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be bothered if I was working out either.
Yeah.
And I'm not obviously saying what would have happened, but you introduce yourself, he cuts his short because he is working out, and then the next time that you guys meet, he doesn't necessarily want to converse because
I'm not dude from the gym.
Workout.
Exactly, dude. That's about yeah. It's like, that's the dude that bugged me at the gym. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, next time you see him and you guys get a converse, maybe he sits down and talks to you for an hour.
Yeah, maybe. That'd be cool. I think he's I actually love his business model. Have you followed it much?
I watched his content here and there.
Yeah. He owns acquisition.com, right?
Yeah.
And so what they do, and he's done a bunch of different companies that he's kind of rolled over the years, but it's my same philosophy, right? Like he wants to go in and affect businesses and grow them and sell them and kind of go on to the next one, right? So if you fit his kind of criteria for a business, I think you need to be making $3 million a year.
That's exactly it.
Something like that, yeah. Which actually is, what's really cool about him is if you go to his website, he has a bunch of videos to help you grow your business to get to $3 million. It's all free. All of his courses are free on there because he wants people to get to that point. And I get it, right? I mean, you don't want to get into a business that makes $300,000 a year. Like it's not ready to be put into a big marketing machine and really spit out on the other end. But,
sure.
But yeah, no, sorry for geeking out on him for a minute, but
no,
I just love his content. I love that he wears the same clothes every time. Like he's just not a dude. He just doesn't mess around. Super confident.
Pretty laid back. Yeah. He's a humble guy.
Yeah.
But humble's the wrong word. I hate the word humble. Fun fact. I think humble is when you lower yourself to make everybody else feel comfortable.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is he's a guy that's safe and okay being in his own skin.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, not that I know him yet, obviously. I was too scared to talk to him, but wasn't really too scared. I just chose not to make that my first impression, right?
Yeah.
But I like that he's not dancing around in a Lamborghini, or like flying private jets all over the place. I think all that stuff is buffoonery and stupid, Not that, if you want a Lamborghini, knock yourself out, but like, flaunt it all over the internet all the time or over social media. It kind of blows my mind that people fall for that still.
I agree.
It's really the content, right? I think that's what I really like about him. He has really, really good content and he's tailored it for everybody. And so, yeah, I just like him.
He's striving to help the person that's making no money get to 3 million. So someday he can go acquire their company.
Yeah. Yeah, or part of it. Yeah. Or grow it. Yeah. Yeah. It's a great business model. I mean, I think it's kind of like where you're at, right? You have a career where you're able to give back. And sure, people pay for it as they should, right? But there's a fulfillment with that, right? Some of the businesses I'm involved in, there's some of them are fun, but I wouldn't say that they're like overwhelmingly fulfilling, because like one of the companies I own, we sell whiteboards and tack boards and stuff like that into schools. And it's like, I don't wake up every morning passionate that everyone has a whiteboard. You know what I mean? But it just doesn't like get you going kind of thing. Right. The people that work for me, like they're awesome. And I love being with them. And I love, like seeing that development side and seeing the wins and, landing jobs and them being fulfilled in their career. But like the actual product line we sell is just kind of like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's necessary, but it's also like whatever.
Sure. Yeah, so. I get that. And it's those probably aren't the most fun marketing meetings either.
Oh, we don't even market. It's all hard bid.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's a different business model, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some are gonna be fun marketing things that is like exciting to go into that. And then now we're past it, like, where did that hour go?
Yeah.
We could still do so much to this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's just hard bid.
So what's next for you? What are you looking forward for in your life?
Honestly, it's just scaling. Because the last 2 years, kind of what we talked about last time, coaching, I had to fundamentally learn knowledge. I had to take some courses. I had to read the books to acquire knowledge to actually be able to take somebody from A to Z. I couldn't just call myself a coach one day, which unfortunately a lot of people do. And those are the people that get into the coaching industry and leave within a year because they recognize they can't. I was committed to learning the knowledge. Now, over the last year, I dedicated myself to creating products with methodologies that would actually take somebody from A to Z. That took time. Now, to me, it's just scaling that.
Yeah.
I know that my systems, my programs drive results. So now it's just getting that out to the world.
Oh, cool. So some of the people that have gone through your courses, like what's changed in their life? What have they done to hit that prosper level?
Being okay being themselves is the biggest one. People feel like life happens from the outside in, when in reality it happens from the inside out. And that's what my program's tailored around. If you have awareness of self and identity, your spirit, your mind to just be taken care of, then naturally you're going to want to go make an impact in the world. Naturally, you're going to go start that business that you want to start. Naturally, you're going to go start a podcast that you want to talk about and have fun doing it. Right. So it's transforming their life from the inside out. I focus on the out, but if the inside is not taken care of, the outside won't be taken care of.
Gotcha.
People can take care of the outside in. People can go succeed in business and hate themselves.
True.
But to love yourself and go succeed in business is way better.
Yeah. I think it kind of comes down to like, how do people feel successful?
Yeah.
Right. Because a lot of people will look at people with money and go, oh, he's successful or she's successful. It's like, no, that is probably one of the worst indicators. We had this guy on one of our calls, and he's very wealthy. And I love listening to his business strategy and all that kind of stuff. But knowing some of his personal life, like his kids hate him, right? Because he's never there. And I've met multiple people throughout my life, right, where they feel like they've caused emotional problems and they try and fix it with money. Like, oh, I wasn't there for my kids when they were teenagers, so I'm going to buy them all a car. I'm going to buy them all a house. I'm going to, and really replacing an emotional wound with money. And it's like a black pill, it just causes resentment and hate. And have you ever seen that in your life?
Yeah.
Examples of that?
It's like, I don't want your money. I want you. What
Right.
your time?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Time's the most important currency. It's the most valuable currency.
Yeah.
Because one fun thing is we never know when it's over, right? And so the only time you can leave a legacy with people is basically how much time you spent with them.
Exactly. And I get that. I mean, even I'm grateful I've gotten over it at a young age, but I got caught up in wanting to make such a big impact.
Yeah.
But in reality, it does start with your family.
Yeah.
If you can make an impact, strive to make an impact on your family first. Love the world, yes, but they come second.
Yeah. So have you had any kids yet?
No.
Okay.
Me and my wife, we talk at the age of 27. There's a couple things that I certainly want to achieve before having kids, though. 27 is still young.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not set on 27. If we had kids now and an accident happened, fine.
Yeah.
Like, bring it on. I'm happy to have a kid. You know, I'm confident in my ability to raise a kid just fine. Although there is a couple things that I want to accomplish prior to
What are those?
kids. I want 5 real estate properties minimum.
Okay.
Mainly because if I have 5 real estate properties, I know without a shadow of a doubt, I can turn that into 30, 40, 50, 100 properties by the end of the
Sure.
time I'm done doing business.
So really just creating a system, right? You're going to have
Yeah.
5 properties and then you're going to be buying the 6th one, and it'll just keep on
Exactly.
growing because you build a system. Yeah.
I can keep this property for 5 years and then sell it and then go buy 4. Like I can just keep developing it. But it takes time to get 5 properties when you got to develop cash flow. You got to develop other sources to be able to build the real estate. So that's 5. And my biggest thing around that as well is not that I don't want to work hard when I have kids, because obviously I'm a role model to my kids, but I also want to have the ability that if my kid has something during the day, I can say, hey, I'm going to my kid's thing. I want to be able to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Do you guys know how many kids you want to have?
2, honestly.
Just replace each other.
Not a normal Utah family. My family had 3, and my brother wants 3, and his perspective. We're all great friends now, but not to say we always got along.
Yeah.
His perspective is, well, what if they hate each other? Like they won't.
Yeah, I was gonna say you make it so they won't. I actually have 3 kids, so
Yeah.
yeah. Somehow, you get a little lucky with kids. I mean, I think parents are funny, right? Because they think that their kids are like a direct reflection of them.
Yeah.
And there are some behaviors in your kids that are a direct reflection of you, right?
Sure.
Mostly lazy parenting, right? But really 90% of these kids are themselves, right?
Yeah.
They have their own personalities. They have their own thoughts, and you can kind of mold them a little bit for a while, but once they hit teenage years, they're pretty much locked into what they're going to,
Exactly.
the way that they want to be. So,
And if you're a good parent and you're willing to be your best version of yourself, that's why I'm saying, like, I'm willing to work hard. I just want to be able to have control over my time.
yeah.
When you show them that, they're observing. So if they see you being a lazy parent and then you're like, hey, you need to get straight A's, it's like, right.
Yeah.
Because you're getting all D's in life.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's very true. Yeah. You as a parent, it is much more you being an example than what you say.
Exactly.
It's really what you do. So yeah, my kids bust my balls all the time for working too much.
Really? Can I ask how many hours you work a week on average?
I'm probably it ranges between 50 and 60 probably.
Okay. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's not wild, but it's different for me though in the fact that I could choose to work 20 hours a week if I wanted to.
Okay. So you enjoy it?
Yeah, most of the time.
Unless you're doing a whiteboard meeting.
Yeah. I have my fingers in so many different companies that it's kind of one of those things. It's like, well, how much money do you need to make? Right. Like that's kind of some of the questions I have to ask myself. But it's also like we were talking about rolling up my industry, right? Like that's going to take a ton of effort and a ton of time to make that all happen. It's a ton of meetings. It's a ton of massaging and making sure everyone's on the same page and everyone's in agreement and then implementation after the fact once you purchase and all that kind of stuff, right? Like it takes a lot of time. And so, and I'm equipped to do it. Like it's the way my career has been built and the way that I have worked on my own self-development, right? Like I'm the guy that make this all happen, which is great. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's almost like you grow a business to a certain point. You can either sell it and cut it, or you can like explode it. And so it's just going to take a lot of time.
Yeah. And to me, like, that's huge, because you're showing your kids that when you want to do something and you commit to doing it and you achieve it, there's high reward at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Potentially.
And I assume that you being that role model for your kids, I assume they're amazing kids, I'm sure.
I think so. Yeah. 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 My wife and I, we actually homeschool. So, and that's a beautiful thing. So the good thing about me is I don't go to work in the morning until 9 most days, right? Every now and again, you know, I'll take an early meeting if it has to be, right? But I actually get to spend, you know, 2-3 hours with my kids in the morning, depending on what time I get them out of bed. And so, and that's great. It's great spending that time. Then my wife, you know, she gets to basically hang out with them the rest of the day and teach them. And it's really a, I don't know if you want to use the word blessing, but it's an awesome opportunity, right? To just spend time with these kids, because once they're out of your house, they're gone, right? Yeah. I think 98% of the time you spend with your kids is before they turn 18. And so literally every day, if you don't spend time with them, it's just one day you didn't spend time with them. And so it's kind of hard to quantify it that way, you know, because you start feeling anxious, but it's also kind of the truth.
Well, so, you think 18 years is really not that much time.
It's not. It's really not. You know, especially when we have 3 kids, right? So really, you know, I mean, by the time we die, about a third of our life will be spent with our kids. And, you know, and I really hope, I hope that we've built relationships with them over the years to where they want to be around us a lot and they want us to be on vacation with them, and they, you know, we make their life easier. And, you know, basically I have the view that, you know, by the time your kids between 25 and 30, you basically turn into like their best friend instead of their parent, you know.
I agree with that.
I think it's kind of crazy for a parent at 30, you know, to be telling you what to do or trying to control your life or shame you into some belief system or something.
Seems like either at 30, kids will either go their own ways or they'll get closer to their parents.
Yeah.
It's usually one or the two. There's not always that gray area.
Yeah. And I just think, you know, like, I mean, you know, I've mentored people over my life, and it's like, I'd rather turn into a mentor and a source of safety for my kids. You know, it's like, hey, Dad, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? I'm like, oh, if I was doing it, I'd do it this 3 ways, but, you know, go do it, man. Make it happen. You know, that's kind of the position I want to be in. I don't want to be in the, I don't know, telling them what to do kind of thing. So yeah. I don't know. It's kind of weird. The thing is, it's good though, right? Yeah.
Because you're striving to set themselves up for success, to be self-reliant. We talked about toxic people, and that's minimizing them, and you're doing the exact opposite. Yeah. And to me, if you're doing that with your kids, and that shows you how much you're actually offering other people, because as a parent, obviously I'm aware of just seeing other parents. I'm not a parent, so I can't really speak to this.
Yeah.
But if somebody's willing to minimize their kids, they're probably willing to minimize other people just on a smaller scale.
Oh, easily, yeah.
So if you're fully amplifying your kids to be the best versions of themselves, I know that you're doing that for all the other people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. Did you grow up religious at all?
No. I believe I was born to be a good kid, and as long as you're a good person, then you'll end up on the right side on the other side. Yeah. And that good things will come to you in life.
Oh, very cool. Did you grow up in Utah?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Where'd you grow up at?
Right here in Riverton area.
On the Riverton area? Oh, nice. Nice. You go to Riverton High School then?
Yeah.
Cool. We live in, I actually live in Bluffdale.
Okay. So you grew up here?
I grew up in the Highland Alpine area. So like Lone Peak High School is where I graduated.
Okay.
So and then I went
That's
to
the school I wanted to go to.
Oh, was it?
All the rich kids were there.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's a pretty affluent neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, or community, I guess. It's not really just a neighborhood. But.
My buddy would just drive like a Ferrari around. I'm like, you're like 16. It's like,
oh really? He went to Lone Peak?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, man. It's an interesting place. I love the way I grew up. It was really safe.
Sure.
I mean, low crime, high drug use. Funny enough.
Oh yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's a really high drug use area. Prescription drugs were the choice of many back then, because they weren't against, you know, the word of wisdom. And so, well, it depends how you look at it, right?
Yeah.
And so, But yeah, I mean, it's wild, man. There's some very, very wealthy people that live up there. And then there was some older Highland people, and you kind of had this weird mix. And I'm not really knocking it. I mean, if that's the place you want to live, then great. But like, now that I'm older, I look back and you kind of see some families, like they were so wealthy that the parents were gone all the time, you know, traveling or doing whatever, or working, or, you know, kind of absent. Then you had some people that kind of trying to keep up with the Joneses, right? Where they had both parents working, but they wanted their kids to live in a great environment. And they accomplished that, but they were also gone a lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I don't know what the percentage would be, but I didn't feel like there was a ton of like moms that stayed home with the kids kind of thing. Even though I came from that world, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. But
That's cool.
yeah, it was interesting growing up there, you know. And so, but I moved to Riverton in 2008, and so I lived right behind that Walmart and those townhouses back there.
Trying to think, the one that was right off of Bangerter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right where that little loop starts going back north.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then I just moved. Then I moved about 2 miles south of that in 2016. So,
okay.
Yeah,
Utah's a great place. Did you grow up religious then?
Mm-hmm.
LDS, or what was your background?
Yeah, we grew up LDS. So then I actually went on an LDS mission, and
that's awesome.
And all that. And I loved it. It was awesome. I have great friends from that. I don't regret a day of going. So
do you still practice that religion?
No, I left that religion about 13 years ago.
Was that hard?
Yes and no. Leaving it was not hard. But you know, if you understand the culture here in Utah, right? There's kind of like when you leave, you want to blow everything up and write letters to all your parents and family and all that kind of stuff. My wife and I kind of quietly left, and we just decided it just wasn't for us. Really, at the end of the day. I mean, I still have family members and employees and friends that are all still LDS members, and I think it's great for them. I really do. I've never been one to pull anybody out of any religion, you know, and try and force them into my thought process. Yeah, my perspective. And so when I left, I kind of became atheist for a while. And then within the last year, I've really kind of opened up to being more spiritual, and it feels good. It feels right. Yeah. So I gained a lot of confidence in my late teens, early 20s. And I'm just one of those people that, like, I just don't regret things. I don't regret decisions I've made. I feel like I'm coachable, you know, or teachable. So if like someone presented me some evidence towards something, I would take that, consider it, and probably change my perspective. I don't really feel like I'm locked in on anything. So it gives me the ability to kind of be fluid in, you know, the way that I interact with the world and show up in the world. That's
amazing. And that's good, right? And I agree. Yeah. I grew up not with anything. Like, who is God? What is God? Like, it's talked about, but never seen. And obviously I had family that was LDS and whatnot. But it was just this last year that I've started to like actually read the Bible and
cool.
Not necessarily be a part of a religion, but actually look into what my higher beliefs are, to say the least.
It's interesting because everybody questions that. And I think they question it frequently, right?
Yeah.
Especially at different stages of life, you know. When you're a teenager, right? I mean, you're going to live forever. You're indestructible, you know, like you can do anything, like, you know, man, I even get in trouble, you know? And so like, I think the way you view like an afterlife or a deity is, it's just not as important, you know? But then, you know, you end up, life hits you, some things happen, graduate high school, start having to work, make some money, right? And get married. I think getting married is a very interesting time of life, right? Where you're like, I think it's one of those gut checks, right? Where it's like, okay, you know, like I'm getting married. Is this forever? What does forever mean? You know, like, does it mean we're together when we die or we're not together? Is there anything after we die? And then it really gets ramped up when you have kids. That's one of the catalysts to me kind of, you know, leaving religion is I was like, oh, okay, now I'm responsible for somebody else. And I'm going to mold, and whatever I kind of dictate on them, they're either going to have to undo that one day or they're going to believe it the rest of their life. And so I took that really, really serious. And so I've kind of just we've kind of just let our kids, you know, they know, they could probably pass a test on almost every religion. We started with Hinduism, right? The very first religion ever recorded, and kind of just went from there. And they have a very broad understanding of like, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, Taoism, why that works with history, why it works with culture, why, most Americans are Protestant, and the reason why, and kind of like lining it all up with history. So they're pretty well educated in that world, but it's funny. I ask them, I said, do you guys believe in God? And most of them do, out of my 3 kids. But it's also not like trying to impress me. You know what I mean? They're not saying it to me to be like, yeah, Dad, I believe what you believe, They're really just like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think heaven's out there. Yeah, that'd be great, And they kind of back to doing whatever they're doing, right? Because it's not an overwhelming force in their life. It is a take it or leave it, however you feel about it. You can change your mind about it if you want. You should learn about it if you feel like learning about it. That's kind of the container we've set for that.
Yeah.
So hopefully it's the right thing to do. Who knows?
I think it is. And the reason I say that is because let's say somebody is really prominent in the LDS teachings or Christianity or Hinduism or whatever the case is. They're willing to go learn about all the other religions out there. Either 1, they're going to feel like they found their own truth, or 2, they're going to look at everything and be like, yeah, I definitely believe in this.
Yeah. So
it almost builds your testimony of your current beliefs, or you may just mold to different beliefs in the process.
Yeah.
I think that's important. So many people are growing up in one religion and never see what's actually out there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I was kind of that same one, right? Like I went on an LDS mission, and I grew up in a very loving environment, right? Like religion was definitely taught and understood, but it wasn't like, I never felt like it was forced on me really, right? So when I went to Scotland on my mission, right, it was really odd to me to see like 99.9% of people not in the same religion as me, especially in the Highland Alpine area. It's almost exactly flipped, right? I mean, almost every single person that lived there in the 90s was LDS. And so it was interesting to interact with the world. And it didn't feel uncomfortable to me or anything like that. Like I wasn't scared or anything, but I was just like, oh, this is new. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is weird. Like this person, oh yeah, he absolutely doesn't believe this. You know what I mean? And then you get people busting your ass out there too, right? Like, Jehovah's Witnesses like to, Bible bash with us. And then you'd have, Catholics who would be upset that, they're basically upset at any Protestant religion, anything that's anti, Catholic Church. And it was just, I don't know, it was like a crazy learning experience, like learning to deal with people and like their religious beliefs. Because it really, like in that country, there's 2 soccer clubs or football clubs, right? There's the Celtics and the Rangers. Rangers are Protestant and the Celtics are Catholic, right? And they have marches, and the people that support those teams are the same religion. And like you wouldn't be a Catholic person and support the Rangers, right? Even if you live next to the stadium. Like it's kind of wild. Here in America, right? Like if, like in Utah, you're a Utah Jazz fan generally, right? Or you like the Denver Broncos, or you liked the 49ers because Steve Young played there, but it's kind of close, you know what I mean? Like it's very rare you're like, yeah, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. You know what I mean? Unless you have some sort of connection to it. Over there, it's literally whatever religion you are. And that's what's kind of choosing which football club you support, which was odd.
That is interesting.
Have you traveled much?
Here and there, not much though.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been around to some of the states or like Mexico, but that's the only country I've been.
Yeah. It's different, right? I mean, so the feeling, when you go to Mexico, like you definitely know you're in a different place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or even in states, the culture is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you been down to like Alabama or Arkansas or anything like that? Oh, you gotta hit the Bible Belt, the buckle of the Bible Belt. It's kind of fun. It's just different, right? I mean, you'll see people praying at restaurants, and they talk about Jesus a lot, even like sayings, right? They'll be like, oh, praise the Lord, like that kind of stuff. And it's like really ingrained into their culture, and they mean it. They mean like, yeah, I want God to bless us right now. Or like, hey brother, before we start this meeting, should we have a prayer? It's like, sure, man. Let's go ahead. Let's have a prayer. And it's really fun to watch. For me, it's really fun to watch how history and culture and religion are all wrapped up into one big, candy, I guess, that you can take.
Yeah. Kind of in Utah, it's almost like if you're not Mormon, you just kind of keep your mouth shut and you know what you believe too.
Yeah. And here's interesting as well, because you have people that are very offended by the LDS church, right? Especially when they're not members and they didn't grow up members. It's like, oh, that thing, right? And that in itself is a cultural, consequence of growing up in a very, heavily weighted religious society. And it's kind of fun talking to those people. Like I've had people in my life like, yeah, I was treated different in high school because I was non-LDS. And I'm kind of like, really? Like your high school was only 35% LDS. So the majority of the school was not LDS. Why were you treated differently? Yeah. And some of them absolutely were, don't get me wrong. And so when you hear these stories, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. That makes sense, but then you have some people who are just like, well, I couldn't go on any dates in high school because, I wasn't LDS. It's like, oh, that sucks.
So fun fact, I'm not LDS, obviously. Yeah. My wife is LDS. And
still?
Yeah. Church weekly. I don't go, obviously. But growing up, right before we were married, all we heard was, it'll never work out. It'll never work out. It's like, respect, love one another for who we are. Yeah. General marriage advice. It works out great, guys. You should use it.
No, it's true. And here's another thing with religion, right? I mean, if you can get to the 1,000-foot view of it, right? It's all the same.
Yeah.
Like the top 10 principles in almost every religion are exactly the same, right? Like don't cheat, don't lie, don't steal, don't have sex with your neighbor's wife, you know what I mean? Or someone you're not married to, you know what I mean? Treat people how you want to be treated. I even said in Christianity, right? I mean, there's unlimited versions of Christianity, right? And all of them are like, well, yeah, Jesus Christ saved us. It's like, okay, how's that different than anybody else? It's like, it's not.
It really isn't.
It really isn't. That's why I normally talk about universal truths with people, right? Like the biggest one to me is karma, and people you can call it the golden rule. You can call it treating people how you want to be treated, I'm trying to think of a Christian way to say it, like the light of Christ, something along those lines. Like you treat people how, love one another as I have loved you. There's a Christian one. And it's like, yeah, it's all karma, The energy that you put out into the world will come back to you because you will create that energy in other people and you will show them how to interact with you.
100%.
I mean, that is the principle, right?
Exactly.
And when people start learning that, they'll label it different things. Oh, that person's really Christ-like, or that person's really spiritual, or that person's really whatever, right? It's like, no, that person is a person. They just get it. When I'm kind to people and I'm understanding and I help people, instead of, being rough and mean and hard on people, like that stuff comes back to you because the nicer you are to someone, the nicer they are to you, and the happier you are. You walk through your life all day with just people being kind to you. It's like, that's a freaking good day.
100%. I would agree with that.
Yeah. But it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of wild, right? It's kind of interesting growing up in Utah. People who are listening to this podcast, if it ever gets popular, right?
Yeah.
They'll be like, oh, these Mormon people always talk about this and that and this and that, and it's like, yeah, it's different, It's definitely a culture. And it's actually, to me, I actually think it's a very welcoming culture. I think when people come to Utah, I think they feel, people will smile at you here in Utah and they'll wave and, like it's
so kind.
Yeah, there's a lot of kindness here.
And I would agree with the people that have had bad experiences with people within the LDS church. That's not everybody.
No.
You have one bad experience with somebody. That doesn't define everybody in that religion.
Yeah.
Doesn't define everybody here in Utah.
Yeah.
There's people that are rude that are non-members. Does that mean every non-member, me and you, are jerks?
No, not at all. Well, that's the funny thing too. Like also if they're in California and someone's mean to them, they're not like, oh, these Catholics are rude as hell. You know what I mean? It's like, no, it's just some dude was rude to you. You got to like dilute it down to like what the reality is.
And who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Jeff was just mad. Yeah.
I forgot this story, but he had a concert here and his venue oversold. So he went and played out in the Salt Flats, I believe. And he was like, all these Mormons are so nice. And that's why he moved here, was after his concert.
No, that's true. Yeah. That's a true story. I've heard that.
He's like, these Mormons are so nice. They're always smiling and they're so nice. I heard a podcast or something. It was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. He was on, I heard the same thing. I don't know what it was. It's probably a TikTok clip that I saw, right? But he said that exact thing, right? He was just like, they're like, why did you move here? And he goes, because they're all nice. Everyone's nice here. Like, I just feel happy here. And it's like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. At the start of 2020 when the pandemic hit, did you watch his concert where he just covered all the Nirvana songs?
I didn't know.
Oh, you should go watch it. It's really cool. So if you like Nirvana, you'll really like it. But it was him, Travis Barker, and two other buddies. They were like, locked in their house up in Sandy or wherever his place is. And they just like live streamed, I don't know, like 20 songs of Nirvana's.
That's awesome.
And he was good. He's really good.
That's cool. I'll have to check that out.
Kind of a fun thing. Anyone listening, check it out too.
And if you're in Utah, I haven't been, but he's buddies with Cane's. Have you ever been to Cane's, the restaurant? Okay, you got to check out Cane's. But Cane's just sponsored a place specifically for Post Malone by his house, and it has all of his guitars. It has a beer pong set where people will go play beer pong. Like, it has a bunch of stuff in there, and it's all Post Malone.
Oh, that's way cool. Okay, I'm gonna check that out for sure.
I've wanted to. I've told my wife, and she's like, "It's gonna be so busy." I'm like, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
So fun things. It's cool to have somebody like Post Malone here in Utah that represents it in such a highlight.
I know you would never have thought that either, right?
No, not at all.
Post Malone. I think from everything I've heard about him, and I obviously don't know him, but everyone just says he's just such a nice guy. Just like I'm a sweetheart of a guy.
He'll stop and talk to anybody. I haven't met him, but just the videos and things that I've seen and heard about him as well. Yeah. That comes down to karma, right?
For sure.
He's not just a non-Mormon. He's tatted, beer drinking, smoking, and all the Mormons love him because of his energy, because of what he wants to give to people. If he can just give a picture, a handshake, a hug, like that's his energy. That's who he is. And that's why everybody loves him.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, absolutely.
Just be happy being you, and the world will take care of you.
Well, that brings us to our last segment, man. I need your best 2 minutes of advice.
Best 2 minutes of my advice. Just we want me to ramble on. The first thing is, you said it before, you hold all the answers. Be willing to sit down and ask yourself questions. If you're struggling right now, be willing to sit down on the bedside each night and say, what could I have done better today? When you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, who do I want to be? Like, for instance, a popular question I ask myself is, who is Brayden Bellnap? Because by putting your name in there, becoming aware of who you want to be, naturally you'll show up in a higher light. And 2 is your identity. After you become aware and you begin to transform your life day by day, who do you want to be? Not your parents, not who your parents want you to be, not who strangers, siblings, who do you want to be? Show up in that. But also see a vision. After you begin to transform your struggles, you begin to become the person you want to be. Create a vision. I established a vision for myself with your identity, your spirit, your mind, your body, your relationships, your impact, your business and or career, your finances, the lifestyle you want to live, and your material items, and then the skills and knowledge that you want to create in life. Take each of those topics. If you got nothing out of this podcast, and this is the last thing, you wrote down each of those as a headline, and you wrote down goals in each of those subjects, and you strive to achieve them, your life will naturally get better. I could go on, but I can stop there.
No, I love that, man. Thanks for sharing. So, and thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. This has been a blessing.
Thanks for listening to the President McCormack Podcast, brought to you by McCormack Foundation, Saxton Fund, ADP Lemco, and Professional Floor Systems. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and keep up with Mark on Instagram @President McCormack.